Hey, welcome to another one.
Welcome.
What'd you say?
I got it, Zoom. Throws that big ass message in your face. I got it. God. Oh, I'm just saying I woke up and chose violence yesterday and decided to eat some lupin, some rabbit. You know?
Why? Because you hate rabbits or what?
I just think, it's not that I hate them. I just have I feel like an elder god on top of my throne. And I'm like, this thing is insignificant to me.
I could do what I want with you.
Do what I want. Your food.
And then the next day you're petting one. You're like, oh, it's on your lap. And you're...
Yeah. I love it. I don't know, man. I just think they're weird pets. Like, people can love it. People, yeah, like what you're saying. You can do whatever you want. You can own, I guess, you can cage whatever creature you choose. That's kind of fucked up. When you have to cage an animal as a pet, when you're like, you must be in a cage.
It doesn't want to hang out with you. You've captured it. You've just captured it and held it captive.
And the only capacity it can show you where you interpret as love is where the wiring in its brain doesn't register you as a threat because you haven't eaten it yet. So basically, you know what I mean? It doesn't go like, you're my friend. It's just like, you're not going to eat me. Yeah, you're just a big ape that doesn't eat me. So we just coexist.
And sometimes you even feed me.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't even think it has a mental capacity to register you're feeding it, right? Like
it just finds food and just like is like, whoa,
yeah,
you
put food in front of it and it's just like food.
Yeah,
it's like gerbils and hamsters and shit. It's kind of a fucked up hubris where we like cage these animals and we're like, you're our pet. Like, oh yeah, like I own you so I could stare at you.
Yeah, just for my pure enjoyment. Hey,
own YouTube clip. Mark owns vegans. I have like I drink a shake every day because I'm old, so I'm like, ooh, collagen and like.
Is it just different animals like
I just grind them up. No, it's more subtle, Chris. I'm a man of subtlety. I'm a man of Machiavellian cruelty, where I bought vegan protein. Hold on.
You sick bastard. Here. Yeah. Are you gonna do some product placement for us?
Yeah. I got the vegan protein here because it has greens and shit in it, but it specifies put it in water or non-dairy. Non-dairy drink to enjoy, and I put that shit in milk. And I go,
you showed
gotcha,
them.
Owned.
Big veganism.
Big veganism.
Yo,
I owned your ass.
Speaking of animals that you could eat, like pets you could eat.
Yes, all of them. Let's go.
Some places they eat dog, right? Do you think that's insane?
No. And yeah, I mean, I think the way that it could be done could be fucked up because dogs have evolved with a symbiotic nature. So it's a little fucked up.
It's like eating your grandma or something.
No, it's not that bad or that good.
Been there, done that.
True crime podcast.
Hey, it was her last wishes, so it was okay. So anyone out there trying to judge us, that was in her will.
Make a stock from my bones. Love grandma. No, I mean, the reality is, and I honestly believe that, ethical views like to not eat animals is like, that's great, right? Human societies have chosen not to eat animals for as long as there has been human societies, right? There's evidence of cultures around the world that are vegetarian, etc., or say you can and can't eat certain things.
Yeah, it's not necessary to live.
No.
Yeah, but
the reality is though that it is culturally subjective. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So like I do think it's dog is a one where it's like, well, we know that 40,000 years ago wolves and humans decided to hang out and we've evolved together and we're the only.
They're like our teammates.
Yes,
it's like
exactly.
If you crash landed in a plane in the Himalayas, would you eat your teammates?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh yeah, I do.
Which side are you on?
They'd have to be dead though. They'd have to be dead. Like that's the
by
thing.
Your will. Yeah. Like you knocked them out or something.
Yeah. Yeah. They'd have to be dead after I
killed them. Yeah.
I killed the plump ones.
I have no views on this issue because I'm like, I guess if you want to eat it, sure, but also probably not.
I mean, to quote a great show, like they don't know anything about Stalingrad.
There you go.
On Peep Show, like guess what happened in Stalingrad? They were eating rats. They were eating all the cats and dogs.
Really? I did not know that.
And humans. Oh yeah. I mean, but I mean, that's human cruelty too. Like, I'm not saying like, wow, you know, in extreme cases of, when humanity is besieging itself in wartime. Yeah. I don't know. Like, yeah, if you don't want to eat at, I mean, I shout out to my vegan friends. You guys are great. I like vegan food is delicious.
Well, you're a meat man at home. See, like me personally, I eat vegetables. I just don't like touching raw meat. So I just don't buy it and bring it home. I'll usually like make vegetarian stuff at home, and then
I didn't know this about you.
Go out. Yeah, dude. I never make. That's why I'm always like, you show pictures of you and the things you made with your meat, and I'm like, that's cool, I guess, but I can't do that. That's just don't like
touching it. Hey, I got a red thumb though.
I know shit. I know nothing about it.
That's the thing. I know. Unfortunately, I have woken up and chosen violence. And I must manipulate the meat. I just love. I don't know.
You have like a steak and then like ground meat on the side, like instead of mashed potatoes, and then like
a steak with bolognese. Working in butcher shops, manipulating meat, curing meats. It sounds weird, sucking the marrow. And also, I go like when I eat. You
go hard, dude.
I'm a bone gnar. Like
you know what I mean? Like the marrow out of the bone. Is what I'm saying.
You crush it and then you.
Well, I guess if you're gonna be a meat eater, not to cut you off, you got to go all the way. You know.
I think so. I mean, I think that it's a hubris. I think that people that don't like the sight of blood or like don't want to eat bones because they think it's icky are fucking cowards. You know what I mean? Like if they just want like the white lump. Like don't get me like I think
a chicken nugget.
Yeah, dude.
Don't eat a bone.
Yeah, dude. The chicken nugget, like in mass industrial, like this is where I agree with vegans. You know what I mean? Like the mass-produced industrialized meat culture is fucking stupid in North America, where it's like, here's your packaged ground meat, here's your packaged chicken breast with no skin or bone. Yeah, and and it's white. It has to be white. That's not meat. Meat has
gray,
veins
like
in it.
Yeah, like the pork cutlet.
Like, like you should be able. Like you got to accept the fact that you are, and you have to be thankful for it. Like it's a privilege to eat meat.
I think you should have to kill. I think instead of like you go to the grocery store and it's in the freezer or the freezer section, there's actually just a livestock area, and you walk in the back and you pick it, and then they give you like a sword, and you're like, all right, go get it.
A sword? Yeah, you choose your weapon.
Yeah,
like a hammer.
Exactly. There's a room. You only get one.
Yeah, we've lost all our vegan friends. We've lost all our vegan friends. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, a hammer, a shovel, a sword. The thing from No Country for Old Men, like the cattle prod. Yeah, the air thing.
Then you have to fucking work for it, yo. If you want to eat meat, you got to do it.
I know people that have gone to like the Cajun barbecue. Like the Cajun parties in Louisiana, and they have a pig roast, or they have a pig thing where somebody brings in a pig, and they literally will they'll shoot it.
Yeah, like it's fresh or whatever.
And then, but what happens is that every group is like, "Oh right, you make the boudin, you make the fucking ham hocks, you're making ribs." Like they'll shoot it there. It's like a 2-day event, and they'll get together and they're making food like people are. Taking the ribs and barbecuing ribs. People are making, tripe fucking soup. People are
using the whole body. Doing it.
That is ultimately the best thing. Like that's
if you're gonna do it, it should be that way. Because like sometimes when you see like a freeze, like you go to the grocery store and you see all this meat and you see the expiration date on it, and you're like, okay, so if this thing doesn't sell, this creature was like grown up in the most horrible condition
for no fucking reason,
killed, and then chopped up, and their meat is just thrown in the garbage.
Yeah,
like
exactly. It makes you appreciate the animal, and I know a lot. I mean, like, and I know my vegan friends. Like, hopefully you guys will understand that. Like, I know we are joking and all that. And I know, like, you guys are probably ethically like, this is disgusting. But hey, it is reality. Human beings have been eating meat, and at least if you do something where you understand the sacredness of like harvesting an animal, which people throughout society have done, and there's nothing to survive, and that's how you do it, right? Talk to Inuit people.
You have to be connected. You should be connected, I think.
Yeah, you have to.
But I say this and I'm like eating fucking 2 cheeseburgers from Dairy Queen.
Oh hell yeah, because they're $1. They're $1. Yeah. They're $1 right now. Mama burgers are capitalism.
Oh, you make me eat burgers.
You got me. You got me.
Too good an opportunity.
You trapped me. No, it's true though. I think you should do all that shit, and I think you should. I mean, the whole thing of, I think if people had to just had to hunt, like there's that trend now with fucking, it's like, well, I think you should only hunt what you eat. It's like, that's also bullshit, because like, it's not like everybody in cultures that, pre-industrialized or non-industrialized, non-Western cultures, not everybody hunts. That's a specific group. And it's like, if you look at it, like meat accounts, like a hunt. Basically, it was like the guys are like, we're gonna go hunt, and then the people not hunting are like, okay, we're gonna go do everything else. Do you know what I mean? Like we're gonna like harvest and like and gather and actually account for more nutrients. So like,
how much do you think they would actually secure? Like, say a hunting party goes out, does it get like one wildebeest or does it get like 5? Do you know what I mean?
Well, it depends on the group, right? Depends.
Well,
on,
I know,
like,
but like
a moose will get you. You know, what I mean, you hunt a moose, and a moose will, like the size of that fucking animal
could feed people for like months or something.
Yeah, there's a reason why, you know, 20,000 years ago or whatever, people were like, well, if we just trick these animals into staying within a fence, it's much easier. Or like shepherds, right? Like sheep herding. It's like, well, if
you don't have to go looking for them.
Yeah, if we just herd these goats around and then shave and use their clothes and then, you know, shave their fur, then make clothes out of that, and then once in a while we slaughter one and eat it. It's
arguably that's like how we live with dogs. Like back to the dog thing. Okay, you wouldn't kill and eat your dog, but you'd kill and eat your cow.
Yeah, there's a hierarchy
that you raised from birth.
Yeah, well, it's a different relationship, dude. A cow is only there to eat and provide you milk and or to plow your feet, right? Like,
do you think the cow looks at the dog like "fuck you"?
Yeah, I think so. I think the cow,
like knowing what the relationship is,
or the cow is probably sitting there hanging out. Is like, look at this fucking chump doing all the humans' dirty work. I'm sitting here eating grass all day, chilling.
Then what's that in his hand? Why is he coming towards me?
Then one day,
then the dog's like, while he's taking a poo.
Like there's a picture which I always found was really funny. It was a vegan, and this is not sorry vegans again, but it was an illustration of this like farmer covered in blood outside of like a barn door, and he's like feeding a cat a piece of meat, and then all these other animals like the horse, the sheep, the cow, and they're all looking outside the door like, oh, it's like, and it's supposed to be like, oh, you feed the cat, you kill bees. It's like, yeah. The cat is a cat's a cat. Like, no, I'm gonna harvest cats. I'm gonna raise cats.
Is that what cat ladies are up to?
Yeah, and
maybe that's what they're doing. Yeah,
yeah. I will never have to grocery shop again.
They ate like 90% of the cats. Yeah, keep some breeding.
Yeah,
that's the true reality there.
I think the story of cats is fucking great. Like
the movie. It's kind of like doesn't make any sense. It's a little disjointed.
Not the evolutionary story of cats, but the movie.
Not the actual intriguing one.
Yeah. That movie was dog shit. Remember we saw it in mushrooms? We got high on mushrooms. Terrible choice.
Yeah.
Terrible decision. That was one of the worst things, but it was actually hilarious because the stories are provided. But
yeah,
I remember
one speaker was blown out too. Remember? It was like blown out. So every time a song started, it would be distorted like in the corner.
Oh yeah. So backstory, listeners, I went to go visit Chris when he was living in Montreal 2 winters ago, and we were like, oh, we should see Cats for a laugh. And then we were like, oh, we should see it. I think I made a joke like, oh, imagine if we did it on acid or mushrooms, and you're like, I got mushrooms.
Yeah.
And then we're like, all right, we're doing it. So we went to we basically took the mushrooms, took the metro down to downtown Montreal, the movie theater, and it literally hit we timed
right
it
when
perfectly.
They started. Yeah.
But unfortunately,
it was Cats, the movie.
Yeah, it was Cats. So I don't know if anybody has seen it. I doubt anybody has seen it. So just Google that shit or YouTube it. It is the most horrifically, terribly CGI rendered movie. It's terrifying.
It's worth one watch. I'll say that to anybody. It's worth one if you can get through it.
And for the first, I think, half an hour, I was peeking on mushrooms. That speaker was blowing. So here's these terrifying demons, like ripped out of hell, ripped out of your darkest, most anxiety laden nightmares. And they kind of look like Taylor Swift or kind of look like Idris Elba. You know what I mean? Like, and James Corden is a cat.
The fat cat. Yeah.
What evil, what CIA department decided to craft this to torture people? Like,
this is a psyop. This is a psyop.
This is a psyop. Yeah. Cats is a fucking psyop.
They're trying to fuck with
Cats
our minds.
The movie was Cats was a psyop because so I'm peaking on mushrooms and I'm just like overwhelmed in this dark room.
Yo, you wanted to leave. There's
every fiber of my beings, I wanted to get up and run, but I'm like, where am I going to go? I'm going to be in downtown Montreal when it's like minus 15 degrees outside in the wintertime, high on mushrooms. Like, I have to, I've done this
mentally
to myself.
Scarred from Cats, the bit of Cats you've seen.
Oh, this shit's going on. They're singing and dancing in their demonic, hellish fucking parade. The speaker's like, almost sounds like an evil cat. Like, and it gets to one, and nobody in the movie theater is like, I think everybody is stunned about how bad
they don't know what to
is.
think. Yeah, exactly.
And all of a sudden, I just like punch through my psychedelic trip, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like so loudly.
Yeah.
And the entire movie theater starts laughing because I think everybody was just like,
They felt the same.
Yeah.
There's a time when it first started and I was tripping too, and I was like, was this actually not funny? And then is this like mean thing I did to Mark, like making him come see this? And I was like starting to have an internal battle of like being like, maybe we should just actually leave. Like I should just say let's go. But
let's
then
get some pizza in. Let's get some hot dogs and go.
But when you punched through and you said that out loud, I was like, okay, we're in it for the long haul. But I truly was feeling like kind of like guilty or something. Like
I was literally like holding, like I was like tense, just like like the entire. I was like looking around, being like something would happen, like a new cat would come on the screen. I'd just be like,
what? Yeah. Oh,
and then it was James Corden falling into a giant garbage can, and then some other cat pouring cream into his mouth.
It was like champagne or some shit.
Yeah,
and you're like, what the fuck is going on?
Like they kept introducing cats. Like it was like, oh, and I'm this cat, and I'm this cat, and it's just like.
Then you never see them again till the very end.
Oh, dude, terrible, terrifying.
Highly recommend.
Yeah, highly can't recommend enough.
Everybody check it.
No, it was great. We had a story. We got a story to tell, buddy.
Hey.
No, yeah. You were the cruelty. You were like, did I just fuck Mark up? Did I just break his brain?
I felt like this is like the worst thing we could be doing on mushrooms right now.
Mm-hmm. Like you're like, wouldn't it be funny? It's like, no. Now we know that that's not. Like, you should go watch a movie you want to see something that's pleasant, not a terrible. Oh,
yeah. It almost like felt like climbing a mountain. It felt good at the end. It's like, yo, we did it. We got through.
Yeah. Then we went and got some fucking burgers at La Belle Provence.
Yeah.
It was good. Looked at some Western gear, shopped, looked at polos. It was great. It was a good day.
It was a good day.
It was a good day. Then we went and got drunk and watched basketball. That was a good day.
Could that be better? Couldn't get better than that. Yeah.
That was actually good. Shout out to Jesse and Solomon.
Yeah, word up. East Coast crew.
East Coast Goo Crew.
Yo, gotta bring up the sad news of one of my favorite comedian dying.
Oh man.
One of the best comedians of all time.
Norm MacDonald.
Of our time. Yeah. Norm MacDonald.
Canada, what up?
I got a pic of him up.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Lost a legend. I don't know. If anyone who has not listened to him, you should just go on YouTube and type his name in and just watch random shit.
Do yourself a favor of the most fucking punk rock who did the guy who was he simultaneously, like, he didn't give a shit, but he was so good at not giving a shit and so funny that it just he could go on Letterman and Conan and just take over and have them in, like, it was the funniest experiences.
Yeah, it was his not giving a shit, but not being hostile about it. He just did whatever the hell he wanted to do and didn't care about what people thought, if they liked it or not. He actually liked to bomb sometimes. Like, he thought that the whole idea of being a comedian and people not laughing at a joke was funny to him. So that
yeah, he was like Andy Kaufman or these guys, you know, who are like I don't give a shit, I'll do. But he was so much more calculated and effective at it, and he didn't explode, like he didn't unravel.
He didn't stumble into it. He calculatedly thought about it in the moment and then would drop it on you.
He basically would show up to these talk shows and almost like it became his show, where he was just so funny, and so calm about it and so quick that it wasn't like he wasn't like, oh, I don't give a shit, I'm gonna like weird people out. And it's just like, no, like now you're on, like, he's just, you have no choice but to fucking listen to his insane jokes, and that worked. That worked all the time. Like they bombed, but they worked. Like,
even when they didn't and it wasn't funny, it was funny that it wasn't funny, and then his reaction about it was hilarious. Yeah.
Well, and I grew up not like, I mean, like he was like, oh, it's a guy from Billy, you know, one of Billy Madison's buddies, and that Adam, like, you know, he was Adam.
He called that shit poop.
Yeah. Which is great. Hilarious. And on Weekend Update, Saturday Night Live, he was one of, not the OG Weekend Update, but I think he was hands down the greatest the best.
Well, Chevy Chase, who everyone seems to consider the best, said that Norm was the second best, and that's a compliment for him. For Chevy Chase's dick.
Fuck Chevy Chase. Yeah. Way better than Chevy Chase. That is a compliment from that guy Chevy Chase. But I remember not laughing because, but he would be saying these things and nobody would be laughing. So I was like, oh, this guy's not funny. And then I watched Dirty Work, I think when I was like 12, and I was like, oh, this is like Artie Lang and Norm MacDonald, like these two fucking psychos. And I was like, this is a kid's movie. And I watched it and it was fucking Dirty Work is actually quite hilarious. And then I went back, a couple of years ago, you watch these clips where he's on Conan, like the
those
famous
are the best ones.
Yes. And Letterman. And then you go back and watch his weekend updates and you're like, oh, this guy's a fucking genius. Like, this guy is the best. So funny.
This is the best time to go appreciate him because like there's tons of shit on YouTube to catch up if you've never actually like got into him. But I don't know. He has such a weird sense of humor.
Yeah.
It maybe is not for everyone, but it's like the most intelligent, I feel like, at least one of the most. Yeah.
Oh, hands down.
Yeah, I'd watch anything he did on Conan, like the moth joke, of course, circulates. His thing with Courtney Thorne-Smith and Carrot Top.
That's the one. I think that's the moth joke. That one. They even had one where he's like, he does a skit because he would always come in and do these skits on Conan where they were like so funny because they were so not good, but like intentionally, like one of them was
not
like
even
it was
entertaining.
Like, he's like, oh, I did a sequel to Ice Road Truckers. It's called Ice Road Tollbooth Guy. Yeah, and it's just him in a toll booth, like he's like, be careful out there. It's icy. Yeah, like, just having a conversation with
no entertainment at all. It's just. It's
just
so
him
banal.
In a toll booth,
talking
to an ice road trucker. The roads are very icy. That'll be a
25
quarter.
cents.
Yeah, exactly. 25 cents.
But that's the thing about him is that he was like fearlessly didn't care and would just go outside the norm. Like even that moth joke, it's like it originally was a 20-second joke that he just stretched out for 7 minutes. Like like we were talking earlier. Conan O'Brien on his podcast Remembering Norm. You should also listen to that if you're interested in Norm MacDonald. They talk about how it was a 20-second joke that he had to fill up 7 minutes to do a segment. He was on like Conan, did one segment, that's all he had planned, and then they were like, "You're on for a second segment," and he's like, oh, "Okay, I'll just turn this 20-second joke into 7 minutes," and he actually like teases it out perfectly, turns it into a weird Russian tragedy,
Yeah. We're talking about it. Oh my god.
And there's nothing really funny happening up until the punchline, and it's like 7 minutes. So like for all intents and purposes, that's like a fucked up thing to do as a comedian is to like not be that funny for 6 or 7 minutes, and then like at the end slap them in the face with the punchline.
But he was just so naturally funny that he's telling, like like the fact that he's not the fact that a guy that funny is telling us serious story is in itself fucking like gut-wrenchingly hilarious.
It's true, and you're kind of like you think each thing is funny, so you're kind of laughing along with it, but it's like it's really good. He's just amazing.
I remember like years ago, 61 he died.
I think
rest in peace. He had that I remember seeing him on the roast of Bob Saget where he was like, because you know how they Comedy Central for like 10 years ago it was like the roast of so and so,
celebrity roast basically.
And remember when people were like, "Oh, Bob Saget is actually edgy," because remember he had to like kind of like remote because he was a very edgy comic, and then he did Full House, and then he came back and was like, "Oh, I'm actually crude." And so the roast of Bob Saget, it was almost like everybody's like, "Oh yeah, Bob Saget, yeah," like like
they're going filthy, they're going nasty on him.
Which roasts are, and I think roasts are hilarious for that. But then Norm MacDonald comes on and just tells these like books or these jokes from a book of roasts from like the 50s, so they're just like corporate roast jokes that you tell in like the most like conservative Puritan era of modern,
acceptable for all ages.
And it's just the fucking funniest thing because
everyone's confused at what he's doing because they know that he's like one of the funniest guys in the room, but he's like just telling the intentionally stupid jokes that are so like have no teeth at all. Yeah, again, that's another thing of him just not giving a fuck in the best possible way.
Yeah, and I mean, and I think that like he was an uncompromising character. You know what I mean?
Yep. Even him getting fired from SNL. So he did Weekend Update, and then he was like just going to town on OJ during the trial. And then Don Ohlmeyer, I think he was the president of NBC, was good friends with OJ Simpson, and he just like basically was like, "All right, Norm, lay off the OJ jokes." And instead, he just doubled down, and so after a while, all the OJ jokes after that fact, he's basically like looking at the camera, being like, "I know I can get fired for this, but I'm just doing it. I don't even care." And then he did get fired.
There you got fired, bro. Dude, uncompromising for better for worse for his career, and I think that's we need people like that, you know, who are
Definitely.
genuine and like, yeah, like, you know, like they might not have them, they might not be in the spotlight, or they might not get their careers, unfortunately, don't go where you think they should because of their talent. But I mean, we need that. It's refreshing. And
Yeah, just
I mean,
a person who's real.
person who's
Really
man.
themselves. Yeah, because like
For better, for worse.
he didn't have any like superstar dreams. Like he wasn't like, once he did Dirty Work, you know what I mean? Like he wasn't like, I'm a comedian, I'm gonna break into movies and TV shows and be this like huge star. He was just like liked being a stand-up comic, and that's what he was gonna be, the best at that, and he was.
Exactly.
Like, to me, him and Dave Chappelle were my top two guys, neck and neck. I guess.
I think so.
Or whatever. Yeah,
I think so. I think that's fair.
They're really good in different ways. Like, especially Dave Chappelle's evolved from like being kind of cartoony, like imagery, to like and to like just being a bit of a preachy, not super preachy, but like, you know, having more like a philosophical bent to his stuff. But Norm just like kept his like stand-up. I'm a stand-up guy telling jokes. That's just what I do.
Stand-up guy telling stand-up jokes. It was great. It was fucking great. Another uncompromising character that's close to your heart, especially, I think is very similar to Norm MacDonald in their ability, their craftsmanship, their uniqueness, and also, like not changing, like basically changing people around them rather than being changed by industry, is Lee Scratch Perry.
Yeah,
rest in peace to the god.
He's the one that changed like music in Jamaica. Yeah.
So for people who don't know who Lee Scratch Perry is, he is one of the founding fathers of essentially modern music. Like he Jamaican, you could call him a reggae artist, but he was and producer, but he was so much more. He basically, his studio Black Ark is where he produced and mixed a lot of the life or like genre changing albums of like Bob Marley and the Wailers, Max Romeo, all these guys like that. But him himself, like without Lee Scratch Perry, like he created he's the first guy to put samples in songs that, you know, like a baby crying, which is actually what was it called? Hold on, I'm gonna whip it up.
Curly Locks.
No, it was Curly Locks, but there was one People Funny Boy. Everybody should go on Spotify or YouTube and download People Funny Boy, because not only is it one of the first songs where it has a chugging, recognizably reggae guitar, but it has a crying baby in it the entire time. And not only is it important for that, but it's also, I would say, one of the first actual diss tracks, because it is dissing another record producer that he separated from. So he wrote that song. Do you know who
that was?
Something Gibbs. Some guy. It was some guy. He was basically had a recording studio with this guy, and then for personal reasons he split, and then he wrote a fucking diss track. So
that's awesome.
Not only without Lee Scratch Perry, you don't have diss tracks. Like he created the fucking diss track, but you don't have electronic music or hip hop or disco.
He was a recording engineer, and so he basically, like, imagined this guy at a big like 24-track mixing board and a bunch of effects, and he's basically recording bands and then using those instrumentals. Didn't he develop dub?
Yeah.
So
King Tubby,
so he would take the instrumentals of the bands that he recorded and then like basically replay them with like super minimal, like just the bass line, then introduce a bit of the drums, and then he basically developed a whole style of music, probably multiple.
Without Lee Scratch Perry and King Tubby, but with all the guys like that, you don't have modern music. Like it's, you know what I mean? It's
I got to see him in Montreal, and man, he is a character. Like, just even watch interviews with him, because he's just like, he's out to space, but he's not like totally crazy. He might appear like that to people, but he's like, I think he just is in another dimension. And like when I saw like him in Montreal, he just like came out, his hair was dyed red, he had like this amazing outfit on. He looked like a bit of like a road warrior type person. And then he had like a big glass of red wine. And then he just was literally rambling over an instrumental track, just like saying whatever he saw, like red wine in my hand, like that kind of shit. And I was just like, this is awesome. I don't even care. Yeah. Toasting straight up.
And it's one of the original forms of rap, right? It's like you don't have rap without toasting, without a Jamaican DJ just saying shit, feeling the vibe.
Yeah,
I mean, it sounds weird to say that, but it's true. Like, we're not being hyperbolic. Like, he literally, you don't have modern music like you do today without him and guys like King Tubby. Basically Jamaican dudes taking recorded tracks and mixing them by themselves, setting up giant sound systems, blasting that, So you have mixing, you have basically remixes, you have diss tracks, you have DJs,
like PA technology, like sound
systems,
like big speakers technology.
Exactly. Like you don't have anything of that sort without these guys. And then toasting, you don't have guys jumping on a mic and just saying shit and then adding it in rhythm, right?
You wouldn't have hip hop without reggae. Because basically, like you're just saying, like, and you could see videos of this too. Like, look up dance hall parties, 70s, 60s, or something like that.
Yep.
There's videos like of these sound clashes going on, and it's like just people like eating curried goat, dancing, and then like basically rappers, but like just singers picking the mic up and just like singing over like different instrumentals,
and then people feeling it, right? Yeah, you don't have hip hop, you don't have dance music, EDM, and you don't have reggaeton, the three biggest genres of music around the world. Without
imagine this all comes from this tiny little island. That's the
Jamaica,
thing that blows
man,
my mind,
dude. Yeah,
it's like
it's
one of the greatest musics of all time, reggae.
This
in all its forms.
This little island that was an intersection of colonialism, and the product of that is fucking people making this music that it just sounds it's crazy.
Yeah, it's absolutely pretty amazing. It's actually quite amazing.
Thanks, colonialism.
Yeah. Did it again.
Did it again.
only positive repercussions. Or
Oh, this music sparks unimaginable joy in your life.
Yeah.
Thank colonialism. Thank you, British Empire.
Oh my God, Jesus, no. One thing I got to say though about reggae, because like it took me a while, because like what ruined reggae for me was like college kids who were into Bob Marley. So then I was like automatically against Bob Marley for no apparent reason. Like didn't even listen to his music. Just was like, fuck that. And then finally I got into reggae through dub, like the I like the slow, minimal, like because it came from rap, I guess. That's like I liked rap first. So
you like the heavy bass beats,
and like just drums and super minimal shit. Like anyway, so then I got into rocksteady, which is like they're more like R&B, like singy kind of stuff, like
soul music,
soul reggae, basically, And then roots, I got into the roots reggae. I would say that's who the Congos probably like
which is that, and then it gets heavier, goes, like it gets that heavy, it goes from rocksteady with it gets that deep bass again, and it goes into then
and then you have dancehall too. Sorry, last one. Dancehall is like the party music. It's basically like the pop party music of it. Yeah,
which becomes reggaeton, which is what I mean, like.
Yeah, it's like a wide genre. It's not just like what you think it is, on the surface.
I got into it with ska, which is like, because punk rock, you listen to ska, and then you're like, oh, ska. Then you listen to older ska, like Desmond Decker, and then you could listen to rocksteady. That it's kind of like,
you just need like something to get you in.
Yeah, my girlfriend was last night because she was like, oh, I don't really like reggae. And I was like, yes, you do. She's like, no, I don't like reggae. And then I just put on dancehall. She's like, oh, I like this. I'm like, yeah, you like reggae.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's to my point. I'm glad to hear that. It's just like just what you think it is, it isn't. Yeah, and there's something in there. Yeah. There's something for you in there. Definitely.
Exactly. So. I put on Barrington Levy and Chakademus and Pliers.
Damn, son. Yeah.
It's like, it's dance music, right? And it's that.
Yeah. Just the best rhythms. Yeah, definitely. Respect. Crazy. So rest in peace.
Respect the rhythm. Also, Bob Marley is fucking good. It's hilarious.
He's amazing.
He said, annoying white kids with dreads are like, we love Bob Marley, and you're like, oh, this is boring. I don't, I'm against the mainstream. And then you listen to it, and you're like, yeah, this shit slaps. But guess who produced it? Lee Scratch Perry.
That's
did
true.
A lot of shit in that.
Yeah, man. The 60s, 70s.
Because Bob Marley is actually he's the intersection of British producers being like, how do we make you more palatable to non-Jamaican artists, and then Lee Scratch Perry being like, how do you still retain this crazy genre out of the fucking void, specific Rastafarian Jamaican sound? So Bob Marley is the actual like intersection of that, and that's why I think he's so
he was
huge.
He was gigantic. It's kind of crazy to think, just like you forget that almost because he's been gone for so long, but he was like world famous, huge, like not Beatles style, but almost up in that category.
Better, way the fuck better than
way fucking better,
way better than fucking Beatles.
Yo, you think if the Beatles were around like a little longer, that they would have gotten to fucking reggae? They did everything else.
They would have, they would have been disco.
Yeah, I would have liked to see that disco Beatles record, reggae Beatles record.
I'm glad they fucking broke up though, because like you listen to fucking Paul McCartney's album and George Harrison's solo shit, and it slaps so hard.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Like everyone got better.
Yeah, you have that piece of shit John Lennon around, fucking, and Yoko Ono. That shit's trash, man.
I love that we're like haters of John Lennon.
Imagine that shit is so fucking whack. That shit is so whack. Wings? Compare that to Wings? You want to compare that to Wings, son?
Incomparable.
You want to compare that to fucking George Harrison, son? That shit is so imagine. And Yoko Ono, man, Yoko Ono, the fact that she's still around it and isn't just pushed off a building.
No, we can't go on the Yoko. It's too easy. Okay, it's too easy.
It's too easy.
Let's not even go there. Yeah.
The best part, dude. Think of, like the man. You could be,
I just mentioned the Beatles and dude, the fire in your eyes.
That bare naked ladies. I know. I wish I could take this fucking these sunglasses off.
Yeah. Motherfucker.
That bare naked ladies song. You can be my Yoko Ono. Like that just proves that just like that's from the devil. That's Corn the same. Dog, yeah. It's a psyop. Yoko Ono was a psyop.
Yeah.
Deep state psyop.
Integrated like a sleeper cell. Woke up, split up the biggest band of all time.
Deep state psyop.
Yeah.
New World Order.
Represent. So for wrestling New World Order guys, were they like super QAnon types, or what was their whole viewpoint? Illuminati?
They were QAnon before QAnon, man.
Yeah, before shit was cool.
No, they were actually like, it's crazy, like to get to welcome to my wrestling podcast, Wrestling with Mark. New World Order were like these guys who basically got fired from the WWF at the time for what's called breaking kayfabe, which was because kayfabe was this weird carny rule where people know it's by then. I mean, a lot of people didn't, especially like, parts of the South and like Puerto Rico and Mexico and other parts of the world where they didn't realize that wrestling wasn't real.
Yeah.
But the whole kayfabe is like, you can't break kayfabe. Like you always, if you're a bad guy, you can't hang out with the good guys. Like you can't
like
drive
on the
with
off
them.
times. You mean?
Yeah,
like
you arrive separately.
Off of work? Yeah.
You'd never say it's fake. You never admit it's. Guys would have to beat up guys. There's in bars and shit for some like guys with there's stories of wrestlers beating guys up because they're like, oh, it's fake. There's a guy, John Stossel. Remember John Stossel?
No.
He got from 60 Minutes. John Stossel from 60 Minutes got his fucking eardrum burst and I think his jaw fucking broken because he was like he had a hard on for wrestling in the 80s being it's fake, wrestling's fake, fake, and he went to WWF and was like, it's fake, blah blah blah. And this guy and of course he interviewed a bad guy, aka a heel, and this dude literally just was like, oh, you think it's fake? This fucking like giant dude, and just went whap and just fucking slapped him across the face.
Yeah,
and it was like, is that fake? And John Stossel was like, there's
a guy.
There's one of the guys from Law and Order. It was like one of the detectives from Law and Order Special Victims Unit.
Yeah,
I forget his name. He had a talk show in the 80s where he was like, oh, is wrestling fake? And Hulk Hogan literally choked him out on air. So like people,
I don't think that relationship's healthy though with like the audience and
it's not
because one time I think wrestling came to Victoria. You might remember the story. And then what's that guy's name? Chris Jericho was walking to his car, and then people were swarming and being like, "Fuck!" He was a heel at the time, so a bad guy.
He punched out a woman. He had he defended.
But he got attacked by a mob, and they thought he was a real bad guy. It's like, are you guys idiots? Like, this guy's just trying to go to his hotel room, and then he's being sworn by a mob, being like, "You're a bad person," because I just saw that 10 minutes ago.
And it's funny because they're like, "Oh, it's fake," but like, yeah. So they think that it's like these guys are still dudes who like are ripped and do steroids.
Well, yeah, why
you're gonna attack them?
Yeah, I know. You're like a flabby fucking idiot. Yeah.
So anyways, yeah. So they kind of got in shit, and but they were like big star. The two guys on my left and right, and they were big stars. So they came to WCW, which was like the rival one. And by that time, Hulk Hogan was already.
Wait, who are you talking about? Because
these two guys, NWOs.
Yeah.
So Scott Hall, Kevin Nash.
Okay.
Big sexy Scott Hall or big sexy Kevin Nash, Razor Ramon, Scott Hall on my right. And And so basically at this time, Hulk Hogan was already in WCW because he got popped for steroids and he got under oath, had to admit that everybody was on steroids, and he kind of fell out of favor. And so he was in the, so he was, it's a crazy story. He was in the rival company doing his thing. They're a little bit underdog, right? But they had, at this time, they took in Macho Man, they took in Hulk Hogan.
They're taking all the old OGs. Yes. Yeah.
And so these guys kind of just randomly would show up and we're like, oh, we're cool guys. And they were kind of like almost fourth wall breaking. But people were like, why are these guys here? Because they didn't know. They thought they were still contracted wrestlers. They were like, oh, these are the guys. Yes.
So they basically, they went from WWF to WCW, which was a new upstart company.
But they would show up. They would show up at the bleachers and like be like, yeah, almost acting like they were still part of WWF. Like, yeah, we're taking over. We're the New World Order. Yeah. And
that's a good way to introduce them.
Oh, dude,
that's a great way.
Insane. And they didn't care. They were like tough guys. They wore jeans and like they would wear like FUBU clothes, like to date themselves. And they were like the tough dudes. And what happened was that, and you could, I recommend watching this, guys, finding this on YouTube, because they're like, oh, we got an inside guy. And everybody was like, what's going on? Like, it was beautiful writing, right? Live action. Nobody knew or not. It was this beautiful marriage of a specific time in history that you can't repeat because people still thought it was fake.
It was like blurred lines.
Blurred lines. Yeah. And so people are like, what's going on? Who's the inside guy? Blah, blah, blah. Turns out it was fucking Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan, the say your prayers, eat your vitamins guy, turned. And he was like,
the evil leader of the NWO.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great writing. That's like Shakespearean.
Dude, you see it live and people are throwing. It's just like mountains of garbage. And like cups are bouncing off these giant dudes. Like
that's when I find entertainment to be like super interesting, because it's like you basically are creating a relationship with this audience with characters that they know deeply, and then you're messing with their expectations. Whereas with the TV show, like an HBO show, it's like done over episodes and you kind of see it. But with like live entertainment, it's such a trip. Like, it's actually astonishing that they're able to do that, like write these storylines and integrate it so much. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And have that live pop from the crowd,
dude,
to get that reaction that they want from them. Amazing.
That period, we lived through in the mid 90s to like maybe 2002. Because like wrestling was so big, you had these guys, you had everybody at NWO shirts, everybody was saying suck it. These guys also did the whole suck it thing, right? So they're like, suck it.
That was like high school people.
Yeah, they're telling everybody to suck it. And then you had Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock, and it was almost like this, what you're saying, like they're writing, like there was one point in WWF where the guy who's dead now, Brian Pillman, he was also a crazy unhinged guy, and he was beefing with Stone Cold. And there's a whole thing is that Stone Cold was going to come into his house, and they were live broadcasting it.
Oh, and he was going to shoot him or something?
And he was going to shoot him, and he was like, Austin 316, say hi to Pillman 9mm, and people thought it was fucking real, right? And they shot it like it was real, and he was Stone Cold.
And they cut the camera,
and they cut the camera. Yeah, it was brilliant. And like millions of people at this time were they would queue on, they would turn on the TV on Monday to watch either WCW or NWO, and it was like this giant ratings battle, and everybody was pushing the envelope, and nobody knew it was real, and this and that, and like what you're saying, like it's. The thing that makes wrestling or made wrestling great was this live action pantomime of like you're telling a story, and people are and it's boiled down though to the essence of like what's good, what's bad, who's right, who's wrong, like what's going on, and it's live, it's a sport as well.
Exactly. Then it's broken up by an actual match where maybe it's just like ballet a little bit, but like it's still fucking incredible to watch, like what they're doing. But like then they're weaving this tale in through this like weird sports arena challenging kind of like environment, like I don't know, it's like it's interesting stuff. I was never like a super duper fan like you were, but like I watched it with some people, and it got me interested in it while I watched it with them, and it was during that era. But I wouldn't say I was a fan, but I was actually surprised at how well it was done.
Dude. And you go, exactly. That was that. I don't think they can, because people are too aware now, and it's very self-conscious, which is fine. I mean,
like
it is
referential almost, referential,
which is fine. I mean, but I mean, like that era was like insanity. I mean, before that, you had and you had celebrities there, right? Like there was fucking Dennis Rodman and Karl Malone were wrestling with these guys, and like,
it was like super pop. It was like the mainstream, like everyone knew about it to a certain extent.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody was saying "suck it," wearing NWO shirts and fucking Stone Cold shirts. Austin 316 was everywhere.
I'm gonna say "suck it" to this audience.
Suck it.
I think it's time to wrap it up.
All right. So just remember, guys, Cats is a psyop. So
yeah, don't forget. And Norm MacDonald is the greatest comedian you've ever listened to. Go check him out. Yeah. Go listen to Lee Scratch Perry's catalog, The Upsetters, Super Ape. Start anywhere. Yeah.
Just start anywhere.
Pick any of his stuff and go for it. Cloak and Dagger.
Smoke a bunch of weed and get paranoid and listen to his shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then after all that, fucking watch 90s wrestling, late 90s wrestling, man.
Yeah, YouTube that shit. YouTube Norm MacDonald, smoke weed, listen to Lee Scratch Perry. You'll have a time.
You're having the best day of your life. Peace.